So you guys know me by now. I like a good, messy reality television show, and that is exactly what The Traitors is. But here's the thing. My biggest takeaway is not The Traitors. It's not what they call the faithful in this show. It's how to pronounce traitors. I say traitors. Alan Cumming, who hosts this show, says it like this, though. Traitors. That man is a legend, yeah. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real recap, and I'm playing Catch Me Up with this new reality show. Well, it's new to me. It's on its 4th season right now, you guys, but it's called The Traitors, which releases weekly on Thursday nights, exclusively on Peacock. Now, I did not get screeners for this. I was put on to The Traitors, and I binged the heck out of all 7 episodes up to this point. That's right, we're 7 episodes into season 4, and this show is messy. It's addictive. That's 2 good things. And also, the games are kind of fun. You know, a couple things I'm like, excuse me, we'll talk about that soon. But this show surprised the heck out of me. Now, before we get into the rest of my thoughts on The Traitors, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, hit that big red button below, subscribe to the channel, or you're a traitor, and we're voting you out. We're going to banish you. I know the terminology. Listen, I'm getting into it now. And also leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of The Traitors and who you think is the next player to either get banished or murdered. Yeah. Listen, no one's actually getting killed, clearly. What are we, in a dystopian universe? Maybe. But for the most part, this show is some good old fun. And if I had to break it down, okay, let me do it the best way I can as a newbie to The Traitors. It's hosted by Alan Cumming, and this is his castle. Now, if you don't know who Alan Cumming is, go watch the old X-Men movies. Y'all remember Nightcrawler? The dopest performance in an X-Men movie? That's Alan Cumming. The man's super talented, but he hosts this game inside of his castle and around his castle. But it's his castle, it's his domain, and he is literally the moment when it comes to the way he dresses. Everyone's outfits are pretty much on point except for like 2 or 3 people, but for the most part, listen, Alan Cumming comes to play, and all of these contestants are either faithfuls or traitors. Well, to start the game, there were 4 traitors. 3 of them we knew as the audience. 1 of them, the secret traitor, nobody knew, not even the traitors themselves, only Alan Cumming. So this is the show, right? You have to try and vote and get these traitors out of the castle, because by the end, if all the faithfuls are around, if I'm not mistaken, they split the prize pot of money. But if traitors are around, I think it only goes to like them or one person or something like that, where they basically duking it out. I'm still trying to learn the rules here, but basically the prize pot is growing at this point. We just finished episode 7, and the prize pot is over $100,000. So people are fighting for money, they're fighting to stay, and they're fighting to convince other people either I'm not a traitor or I'm a faithful. And those are 2 very different things. So I'm very curious to see what happens moving forward. But let's play catch up together, right? I'm not going to recap every moment because each episode is about an hour long. But I want to go down the list because I've taken notes on our traitors, on the murders, and the banishment moments. So let's get started. Of course, we open up and everything is very eerie and everything is ghoulish and things like that, right? Well, we figure out that there's already a secret traitor that has been named and no one knows who it is. And there are 3 traitors that the audience knows, but of course, none of the other contestants do. So those 3 traitors are Lisa from, she used to be on Housewives. By the way, all these contestants are either Housewives, they're either Bravo celebrities, so other Bravo shows. You also got Big Brother, got Survivor, and Love Island, apparently. And then you have Candiace, who is the second traitor, and she's my favorite on the show. I don't care what anyone says. She's my favorite on the show. She's the best dressed. And she has the funniest liners. So good. Then we got Rob R., who was on Love Island, and apparently, unbeknownst to me, the internet is taking him as like he's the hottest contestant. I couldn't even say that properly. My voice cracked. But yeah, he is apparently catching the eyes of many people on this show. And then you have a secret traitor. So this is really cool. Everyone's operating in the shadows. But this show operates in two ways. How you get people off the show is through banishment, which is a round table discussion. They're all trying to say their piece, and they all vote one time, and the person with the most votes gets banished from the castle. Then there are murders, which basically the traitors can decide on. There are short lists, and sometimes they just get together and say, we got to take this person out. And not often, but sometimes Alan Cumming will say, oh, and it has to be done in plain sight. There were some funny plain sight ones, like that little amulet thing that Lisa Rinna had to wear. Funny. Alrighty, so the very first murder ends up happening. There's a short list of contestants, if I'm not mistaken, that the secret traitor gave to the actual traitors, and they have to make the decision. So they voted off Ian, who I believe is from Big Brother, right? But my goodness, that was quick, and no one cared. It was just so forgettable. Like, Ian was like here and gone in the blink of an eye. But Dorinda survived, and Dorinda had gotten voted out on that first night too in the previous season. Then she had a little moment where she was crying at the breakfast the next morning. You know, so sweet. Alrighty. So after that, we begin to understand there are some little groups being made here, right? Some people are trying to sway other people in their votes. And Ron Funches, I believe is his last name, is a comedian. I know him before the show. And Ron, well, he caught Portia slipping up a little slip of the tongue, right? She said, when we killed Ian. And then he thought that was proof enough, right? So, oh boy. Well, they get to the round table and Ron immediately guns for Portia. By the way, all those who were voting for Portia and misspelled her name, how did y'all misspell her name? Don't they give you a call sheet? Don't you know these things? It's not hard. But Ron came after Portia and everyone said, well, you know what? Maybe it is Portia. Guess what, guys? We're all Lamborghini fans. So Portia, you're out of here. And Portia gets voted out. But before she leaves, Alan Cumming always asks those who get banished, are you a traitor or are you a faithful? And she revealed she's a faithful, and the whole castle was like, oh my goodness. Well, one less person we have to split the money with. Continue. And they do. So the next murder is on the table, and this one has to be done in plain sight, but it isn't like someone touches one of the traitors or kisses them on the cheek. They just have to make the decision in plain sight. And if I'm not mistaken, this was the one where they had like the cards behind the frame, so they had to get everybody out of the kitchen. So Candiace decides to do a conga line. And Rob C and Natalie are like, conga line, or was it Rob C and Kristen? But anyway, he caught on and he knew something was up. He's like, I ain't joining no conga line. Are you kidding me? But what you didn't know, Rob, was that they all picked you anyway. So Rob ended up being the second murder and did not show up at the following breakfast. Speaking of the breakfast, by the way, the salmon looks good, y'all. And everyone keeps commenting on how good the salmon is. And I called it lox at first, to be completely honest with you. But hey, I would try it. So Rob C, gamer, they said, I think he was on Survivor or something. He is gone and out of the castle. So that helps the traitors big time. It hurts the faithful. And then all the while, guys, there is a lot of back and forth happening, right? We're starting to understand that there are people even among the faithfuls that just don't like each other. And it happens to be between Colton and Michael Rappaport. Y'all remember Colton from The Bachelor Nation, and he was on The Bachelorette, if I'm not mistaken. He was on The Bachelor. He was The Bachelor. And then he came out and revealed that he is not a straight man, so I can't do this anymore. But that wasn't before he stalked, forgot her name, was it Cassie or something? Yeah, not great. Not great. Don't stalk women. Don't do that. But he's on the show, and admittedly, I won't lie to y'all, he is the most annoying contestant on this show. Everything is about Colton. Everything. He's got to be the one to gun for people. He's turning people's heads. He's swaying votes. He's whipping votes at this point. But Michael Rappaport doesn't like that, because Michael Rappaport is going to bat for the people that, well, Colton is aiming for. This doesn't come until a little bit later, but the seeds are already being planted by this point, right? Here's the thing, though. A lot of people came into agreement on the next banishment. So this is the second banishment now, right? So we're at the round table, and a lot of people at this point were already guessing a certain contestant to be traitorous, right? Or as Alan Cumming would say, traitorous. And for me, I guessed the next banishment correctly because I'm like, this has got to be the secret traitor. She's too nice. She looks like she makes cookies, and she probably uses salt in her food to a degree. But here's the thing. They all get to the round table, and some people were undecided until evidence was presented that, hey, yeah, even if she's a faithful, she's actually not helping us at all. So everyone turns and votes for Donna. Well, the majority votes for Donna. Now, at the same time, though, people are not just all voting for her. There are other votes being cast for other contestants. So, again, little threads are being pulled and created here. Now, Donna, is she a faithful, or is she a traitor, or maybe the secret traitor? Well, she reveals that she is the secret traitor, and she was picked on night 1 by Alan Cumming. And let me tell y'all something. Donna did not look convincing here. Listen, no disrespect against Donna, but this was not the show for her. This was not a good vehicle for her. And I'm actually glad that she got banished here and it was the second banishment because, listen, I don't make the rules, but if you're going to play this game, you got to either be entertaining, athletic, or both. And she was neither. So, yeah, Donna is the secret traitor, and she's out. And the faithfuls think that everyone's happy. Even Rob, Candiace, and Lisa are freaking out. Oh, we knew it. That's so great. Oh, my gosh. But don't get too excited, y'all, because they're on to you. All right. Now, at this point in the show, I felt that the next murder, I'm going to be honest, wasn't that engaging. Like, okay, I'll just say it. Caroline gets murdered, but it felt not, I don't know, it didn't really work for me. I think the buildup was better than the payoff because I'm like, Caroline, that's like a non-factor for me in this show. So she gets killed off. If I'm not mistaken, this was the one where they had some of the faithful tied up on the tree and they were blindfolded and they had to plead for their life or something like that. So it was something else. And at this point, they were all, trying to guess who. Well, I heard 3 people. I heard 4 people, and then light footsteps, heavy footsteps. I heard a laugh. Eric heard a laugh, and Eric claims he is the. Eric claims he's like got an ear for music, and he might have an ear for music, but it doesn't mean that it's a working ear because he claims that he heard a laugh, and he's 99% sure of who it is. And of course, he's going to save the reveal for the roundtable moment, right? So we get into the third banishment. And all our contestants are trying to guess who the heck were the traitors that were going tree to tree, picking who would be murdered, right? And here's the thing. Apparently, Eric said he heard Tiffany laugh. And he heard the laugh, and I believe it was Tiffany, yeah. And people were like, oh, well, the evidence is there now, and they're all freaking out. And I don't know. I don't necessarily think it was fair how this next banishment happened. I didn't love it. So all the while we have Colton really gunning for yet another possible traitor, person he thinks is a traitor. So Colton is going after Michael Rappaport pretty hard here. And then he comes to the realization that maybe we just don't care if he's a traitor or a faithful. He's just distracting, loud, and yes, Michael Rappaport's loud. I'm not the biggest fan of Michael Rappaport, by the way. This is an aside. For the show, though, for The Traitor Season 4, he's good TV. I don't know. He made me laugh. And I mean, there were a couple things where I'm like, dude, you're just talking too much here. But Michael Rappaport made for good TV. And as annoying as Colton is, their little debate was good TV as well. Now, Michael Rappaport is, I'll be honest. He said something that I don't think Colton should have taken it the way he did. But who am I to say how someone's supposed to feel? Anyway. So, third banishment happens. They all get together because Eric said, oh, I heard the laugh and it was Tiffany. And Tiffany's sitting here saying, like, I am a single mother and I'm trying to win this money for my family. And you know what? She was, at that point, one of my favorite contestants. And Eric frustrated the heck out of me because I'm like, Eric, you told the group that you listened to the same song over and over. I mixed so many songs and you heard the wrong laugh. Bro, you can't make this up. So they take a vote and they said, it's time for Big Brother to take an L here. And Tiffany, who was on Big Brother, ends up getting the majority of the votes. She goes up to the front. Alan Cumming says, you better reveal, is you or is you not a traitor? And Tiffany said, I'm a faithful. And all of y'all are just messy. And they are messy. And again, Eric, what he did was nobody was talking about Tiffany until that roundtable discussion. Don't you think that is weird? Eric? I don't know. Not the biggest fan of his. That frustrated me heavily. So moving on from that roundtable banishment session, we've got to figure out who the traitors are going to murder next. So the fourth murder is on the table now. They've got to figure out who are they going to take out. And this one was a little unceremonious in a weird way. Like, it just did not feel like there was much impact. Although I will say, after now watching all of the scenes in retrospect up to this point, I do think that this contestant was genuinely going to be a gamer and somebody who could actually be pretty dangerous for the traitors. So the traitors did themselves a solid, because during the fourth... You heard the sirens? Listen, they're becoming a main character on this channel. They got to stop that. The fourth murder ends up being Monet Exchange from RuPaul's Drag Race. The reason I think the traitors were a little skeevy around Monet and decided to murder him is because they felt he was a very smart player, and he was catching on to one of the traitors. I think it might have been Lisa, but he was catching on here, and that's not good, right? So we've got a faithful that's now gone, and we have traitors who are beginning to see the foundation of their bond crack, because it was up to this point that they were really solid, they were in lockstep with one another, and then Rob R had to go and act like the thing that he catches, snakes, because he's beginning to turn a little corner here, right? So we're going to get to that right about now, y'all. So fourth banishment moment occurs, all right? The round table happens. Leading up to this, Michael Rappaport and Colton are going at each other's neck because Michael Rappaport's upset that Tiffany got banished for no reason. So he said, well, I'm going to start calling out some people and coming hard. I'm going to start applying pressure. And he did to Colton. He kept calling Colton a conniving, he said commiserating Colton, but commiseration means to feel sorry for somebody, and Rob R corrected Michael Rappaport there. But he kept going with Colton, and he said, this is a traitor, he's conniving Colton. And I'm like, dang, Michael Rappaport is Rappaporting right now, because he does that often. That is his shtick. And Colton was very upset at this round table, and then had Johnny and Eric and people come to his defense because Michael Rappaport tells Colton, well, of course he would be very good at hiding a secret. Now, I can see how that would be taken sideways by Colton. I also don't believe Michael Rappaport meant it in the way that Colton took it, which was Colton was mad at that comment because he thought that Michael Rappaport was insinuating, because he was quote unquote in the closet for like 16 or 17 years, according to Colton, that it was, or maybe longer, I don't know, that it was a very offensive comment. So the minute that happened, Michael Rappaport basically dug himself a grave. I do not actually believe Michael Rappaport up until this point was going to get the majority of the votes, but because he made that comment, Johnny turns his vote, Eric turns his vote, Kristen turns her vote, I think. So they're all sort of turning their votes, right? And Colton, according to Michael Rappaport, a failed ringleader, truly was a failed ringleader, because Michael Rappaport gets the votes and reveals he's a faithful. And they were all like, oh, well, even though he's a faithful, he was just really distracting. But you kind of need a little distraction from time to time. And that's why the traitors were a little upset. They're like, dang, he was a good distraction. Now we got to figure out someone else to take the heat off us, the spotlight off us, possibly. But the thing is, throughout all of this, Rob was building this secret alliance with Colton. And then he votes, I think he voted in this instance, if I'm wrong, it was at this point or later, but he votes in a way that starts to make the other traitors feel, oh gosh, can we trust him? So Rob is trying to build this relationship with Colton, and I'm like, oh boy, you are going rogue, aren't you? So after that fourth banishment, there isn't a murder in between. Instead, they do go back to the round table, and they have to figure out, all right, who are we going to vote off next? And at this point, the traitors are already getting together and saying, yeah, I think we got to vote Ron. It's just the easiest choice here. Even if he's, somebody who the game needs, he's a good target, because everyone still is upset with Ron for coming after Portia. And, well, here's the thing. Rob, I think it's here where Rob votes against one of the traitors. He votes for Lisa, and I'm like, oh no. That's pretty bad. The fifth banishment ended up just being Ron. Now, while that is not, in my opinion, that's not a huge deal. I think what's happening is that they're doing that thing again where everyone's set on one contestant, but then in the round table, they switch their focus. And some of the contestants are complaining about that, right? Like, why are we changing our votes at the last minute? Well, guys, because y'all are very easily swayed, and I'll need to pray about that. But yeah, that is definitely, it's a recurring theme I'm noticing amongst our contestants, faithful and traitors. Now, this fifth murder was actually the most fun out of all of them, I want to say so far, just because it had to happen in plain sight, but it also had to occur by one of the faithful touching, well, Lisa, because she decides to wear it, her amulet. So it's like a brooch pin, but not really because it looks more like an amulet. And she's at the party and everyone comes dressed to the 9s and the 10s. Although there were some contestants that I'm like, what the heck are you wearing? I didn't know what to think about some of these outfits, and that's been all season long. Side note, best dress is definitely Candiace. I'm talking contestants because Alan Cumming is the host. Candiace, Maura, and I do think that, oh gosh, this is a tough one. Yeah, Lisa, for sure. Maybe Lisa over Maura. I don't know, one of the two. But Candiace is number one in terms of best dressed here. The worst dressed, I hate to say it, Natalie, Mamma Mia, and Colton. What is he wearing? And there's this like banquet later on at the end of this 7 episodes where Colton's wearing a little like headpiece or something, and I'm like, homeboy, that is not a good look. So we get into the fifth murder, and it is a dinner party. However, in order for this person to get murdered, they have to touch the amulet, right? So Lisa was between Jam Jam, Natalie, and Colton, I think it was. Or no, maybe Colton was like too obvious. But I know it was definitely between Natalie and Jam Jam. So I didn't know which direction she was going to go. There's some good editing in these moments because I was so sold on it being Natalie, to be completely honest, because she's very smart. She's from Survivor and she's a gamer, but she's not very good at like her poker face sometimes. So she's straight up to a fault, especially with the challenge that happens later on here. But I do think that Lisa was gonna gun for Jam Jam because Jam Jam was very, very close to figuring out who the traitors were. And Jam Jam was actually hot on Lisa's trail. We don't know that until the actual banishment moment where they're all talking about who got murdered, and they pull Jam Jam out, and Jam Jam says to the entire group, Lisa is a traitor. She kissed me on the cheek. And then he exits. And it wasn't an air kiss, he claims. She claims it's an air kiss. If I watched it back, I think it was an air kiss, to be completely honest with you. But that was Jam Jam's case. And everybody sits down in the banishment moment and says, hey, we're going to replay that moment again. Why did Jam Jam get pulled out of that dinner screaming basically Lisa's name, that it was her fault, she's the traitor, because she kissed him? And then you had, I think it was Dorinda. Yeah, Dorinda said, she air kisses everyone. That's not a thing, y'all. All right, so housewives are sticking up for housewives here. It's cool. And Colton is still hot on Lisa's trail. Colton has been dogging Lisa, and Lisa said, oh, you want the claws to come out? I got you. And it was back and forth between them. But Lisa didn't do the best job at being so convincing. However, Colton is not good. He's over 2 at this point, right? He thought it was another contestant earlier and a second contestant that it wasn't it either. So he continues to have this bad track record, but he's all in on Lisa, right? So they go around the round table. The biggest shock to me in terms of the voting was Rob. Rob voted for Lisa. And he said that he's doing this because he feels the traitors are very close to being found out. He had made a pact, I think it was, because Rob won the challenge and got the dagger, which is 2 votes, but he can hold on to that now for as long as he can. He told them before they got in, he's like, hey, I'm a faithful. I'm going to be honest. It was me. I got the dagger. I'm holding my 2 votes to be more strategic, but I'm telling you, I'm going to vote Lisa. And I think he's doing this because he's going rogue and wants to win the money for himself. So that is not great. So the traitors are traitors towards themselves. But here's the thing. Candiace is not having that. So it's not just Candiace and Rob, because Lisa, of course, gets banished and reveals to be a traitor. Everyone's happy except for Candiace. Rob is ecstatic because he's got this friendship now with Colton and the other faithful, Natalie and all them. And this is rough, y'all, because Rob is about to blow up Candiace's spot. But Candiace said, not on my watch. And that's where the cliffhanger ends, because they're getting prepped for the 6th murder. They take off their little, like, the hoods on their outfits, and they're in the turret or whatever they call it. And she says, yeah, you got some splaining to do. All right, sir. And Rob is, I'm going to be honest, Rob I don't think cares at this point, but I think it could actually backfire on Rob, because all Candiace has to do is begin to set up a target on Rob's back, because she knows him and his playstyle the best, right? So this is actually going to work out poorly for Rob, but I did predict that he was going to go rogue. So I'm very curious to see what happens in episode 8, which I do want to cover on this channel. So I need y'all to stick with me and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out, because I want to have this conversation between the Traitors on Thursdays and Love is Blind Season 10, which begins February 11th, next week on Wednesdays. I'm covering both, and it's going to be so fun. I can't wait to talk about week 1 of Love is Blind Season 10. So get locked in, y'all. Thank you for your support, and don't betray me in the comments, okay? Don't be a traitor. Be a faithful. Come on now. Yeah, man, just all you got to do is to keep me out of that scary house that they had and those weird demonic looking statues that I don't play with, okay? So there are some elements here where I'm like, oh, that's a horror thing. I'm not with it. But the challenges are fun. The editing is good. The hosting is great by Alan Cumming, and the contestants they're a hoot. That was so, why did I say that? That was so okay. Yeah. It's a fun time. So I recommend the Traitors if you want a good game show and something to really sink your teeth into. It's an easy binge, as funny as that sounds, but now I gotta wait a week. Gotta wait a week for all these episodes. Let me call Peacock. Let me see what I can do. Alrighty, y'all. Again, thanks so much for watching. God bless you guys, and I'll catch you at the next screening. That was my Alan Cumming. That didn't do well. Okay, fine.